Have you ever noticed someone who straight up refuses to post on social media? No selfies, no life updates, no big news captions. In a world where people post their breakfast, their breakups, and their glow-ups, these folks choose to stay low-key. Not because they're hiding, but because they figured something out that most people haven't. Most people assume they're just shy, antisocial, or maybe a little paranoid. But psychology tells a very different story. Research on social behavior shows that people who rarely post online often score higher in emotional independence and self-reflection. They're not scared of being seen. They're just skeptical of what being seen has turned into. Social media promised connection. What it actually delivered was performance anxiety disguised as community. Think about the last time you shared something meaningful online. You didn't just post it, you tweaked it, cropped it, thought about the caption, wondered how people would react. By the time you hit share, the moment wasn't even yours anymore. It became content. And that's the trade-off most people don't notice. The moment you post something personal, you're swapping ownership for validation. Psychologists call this psychological ownership, that deep feeling that something belongs completely to you. The second it goes public, that feeling starts to fade. Your happiness becomes comment section material. Your pain becomes entertainment. Your growth becomes something people compare themselves to. People who hate posting clocked this early. They realized that every share comes with a cost. And here's the interesting part. Most of them didn't start out this way. They used to post. They shared, they engaged, they played the game, until something clicked. Maybe they noticed how exhausting it felt to constantly curate their life. Maybe they realized they were experiencing moments through a screen instead of actually living them. Or maybe they just got tired of performing, because let's be real, that's exactly what it is. Every caption is a script, every photo is a stage, and the applause, likes, comments, views, all triggering dopamine hits in your brain, the same chemical involved in addiction. Over time, you don't just enjoy moments anymore. You start measuring them by how postable they are. People who stop posting break that cycle. Psychologists say they develop a strong internal locus of control, meaning their self-worth comes from the inside, not from external approval. They don't need strangers to confirm they're doing okay. They already know. But let's be clear, it's not always peaceful. There's a specific kind of anxiety tied to social media that researchers call self-presentational pressure. It's that constant feeling of being watched and judged, even when you're not posting. For some people, that pressure becomes unbearable, so they step back. Not because they don't want connection, but because the price of digital visibility feels too high. And here's the wild paradox. Platforms designed to connect us often end up making us feel more alone. When you stop posting, something interesting happens. You start noticing who actually checks in without needing an update, who calls without being reminded by a story, who cares without an algorithm pushing your life into their feed. You quickly see which relationships were real and which ones were just social media transactions. People who don't post tend to build their lives around unbroadcasted moments, conversations that don't get screenshotted, wins that don't need witnesses, joy that exists without proof. They understand something most people forget. Not everything meaningful needs to be documented. Studies show that people who take extended breaks from social media experience noticeable increases in emotional stability and overall life satisfaction. When your identity isn't constantly being reflected back through likes and comments, it becomes more solid, more grounded, more real. You stop editing your life into something digestible and start living it in all its messy, unfiltered chaos. This doesn't mean they hate technology, or people, or connection. It means they chose authenticity over performance. They decided some parts of life deserve to stay untouched by algorithms, opinions, and endless scrolling. Because once something goes public, it stops being fully yours.
There's almost something spiritual about that choice in today's attention-obsessed world. While everyone else is shouting to be noticed, these people are listening to themselves, finding clarity beneath the noise. They're not invisible, they're just refusing to shrink their existence into highlights and captions. And here's what they truly understand. Privacy isn't loneliness, silence isn't emptiness, and being unseen doesn't mean being unimportant. Sometimes the real flex is existing fully, quietly, without needing the world to clap for it. That's not withdrawal, that's presence. If this hit home, drop a comment and share your take. And if you're into psychology that actually explains how the mind works, hit like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.